the sector has been exempt from tariffs for all this time. And even now, it still remains exempt from tariffs. It's under what's called the Section 232 investigation, which is about a threat to national security. And that can take months, so maybe we'll have something in the summer. But insofar as the conclusion of that, we will have remedies, but not necessarily tariffs. So tariffs as a threat to the sector are probably a distant possibility right now.
What we've seen so far has been ramping up investment in the United States, and that's from European big pharma, it's from American big pharma as well. What does it mean in terms of the capex being skewed in that direction? What do you see as the long-term ramifications of how this impacts these businesses?
So it's interesting. I think a lot of the investment that's been announced was already planned, right? So it's trying to play the politics 100%. And, we're seeing this in other sectors as well, such as semiconductors. It's investment that's already there. And it takes years. Novartis said 23 billion over 5 years is going to take time. But one of the things that we learned during COVID is that the sector is one of the most robust and complex supply chains, and they can change and shift things. So, we're not very, very worried about, what happens. Yes, they will play the politics. Yes, they will invest in the US, but, they remain a global business.
But Jimmy, given the broader, lovely to see you, by the way, the broader demographic challenges for the consumers, the ultimate buyer, and indeed the strong position that suppliers of these innovative drugs and medicines have, they're in a strong position for the cost of all of these tariffs, the cost of everything, the innovation, to come right to the consumer on there as well, whether it's Sanofi and Novartis in Europe looking for minimum prices, whether it's the increase in tariff costs in the United States. It's the consumer's not going to pay, is going to pay. The margins will be held, won't they?
So 100%. I think you're very right there that what is going to be pressured is going to be the drug prices. However, what we will see is that, and this is our thesis, the companies with the most innovative pipelines will be the winners in the end. Novartis today, for example, it posted a 42% margin, operating margin. That's tech software-like margins. AstraZeneca had a 35% margins. So these are very, very profitable business, and it's because they've got very strong pipelines, both Novartis and AstraZeneca. So when you launch a new product, you launch it at a premium pricing. All the older products, they will face significant drug pricing pressure. But if you've got a pipeline and you can launch next generation products that make a big economic difference, then you can charge a good price.
I think this is why a lot of investors have really loved the AstraZeneca story. I spoke to a research analyst yesterday in anticipation of their earnings today, and he said that Pascal Soriot has done a phenomenal job transforming AstraZeneca from a company that many said, what's the future? Does Astra have a future, into a company that arguably has the best R&D pipeline out there. Now, this morning, the stock is down about 4%. I'm curious what you think of the earnings that we saw today from Astra, and if there's anything in there that jeopardizes what I think many are calling an incredibly bright future, given the strong pipeline.
Well, it's got one of the best pipelines in the industry, in the world. Just this year alone, it's had 5 positive readouts. It's had 13 new molecular entities. It's targeting 20 new molecular entities by 2030, which effectively doubles its base revenue from 2023. So, it's a fantastic business. If you look at the growth that's implied, it's high single-digit, low double-digit top-line growth. So you're looking at something that's growing mid-teens percentage earnings until 2030. The reason why it's down today is partly because of mixed results. So product sales missed a little bit. Yes, products did grow 12%, but that was slightly behind consensus. Even though they improved on margins and earnings, there were a few products that were a little bit behind consensus. And then the other thing is China, which you mentioned, which is they've said we're going to receive a fine, and so the market is kind of pricing that in.
Right.
But in the statement they said they continue to fully cooperate, and even if you look at the China business, it had 5% growth this quarter.
Well, China